I want to ask a couple questions because I know a couple of viewers are gonna have some, things they want clarified. So when you're in this other realm, are the people you're interacting, are they like holographic and see through like we would see in movies, or are they
No,
like solid?
they're like you in front of me right now. They're absolutely solid, but they've got no body. And the beauty of it is, I talk about, I break down videos in my on my own YouTube channel. And the one I really like is why is there chairs in heaven? Because, pardon me, we don't have a body. We don't have to rest. You know how we get tired? We don't have to rest. But that's where we pause to reevaluate and contemplate. In this world today, we don't get time to just relax. We've got to get up, go to work, go to school, go to study, do our TikTok videos. There's always something, something, something to be done. We don't get time out to just pause and do that contemplation. And when we look at churches, there's usually a little garden area where there's a chair outside a church. They call them contemplation corners. Okay. Usually you'll find a little statue there with a little bench. They have them also in cemeteries, little places where you can just sit and ponder. And that's what heaven's about, where we ponder, where we think, and where we make those decisions. How am I going to be a better person tomorrow? Because obviously when we're in a cemetery, we think about, well, these people can't do anything tomorrow, but I've still got that opportunity to create something. So I believe that everything I've been through was for a reason, and it's to tell people it's okay. Take that time out for yourself. It's not greedy and it's not being selfish when we say, I've got to look after me today. Because we live in a world where we put so much attention into our eyelash extensions, nails, hair, clothing. Oh my gosh, I've got to shave today. Why? This is just a material body that at the end of the day does not matter. The person inside us is what matters. The more we think about how kind am I? Do I do all I can for others? Do I help other people? Do I do those random acts of kindness? Just yesterday, I was in the grocery shop, and the lady before me, she said, "Oh, you've only got a few things. How about you go first?" How often did we do that? And then I went first, and the guy that was going through the checkout, he was 5 cents short with his money. I had a 5 cent piece in my wallet, so I gave it to him. And he said, "Oh, wow." And I said, "Well, look what's just happened. She paid it forward by letting me cut in front of her. And now I'm helping you. So I hope you go today and you do something good for somebody else as well." And it's all free. We don't have to spend money. Just smiling at someone, being nice, complimenting somebody. How many times a day do we compliment someone? I love doing it. You walk past someone and you say, "Wow, I really like your shoes. They look so comfy. Where did you get them?" Something nice to make them feel special. Because at this point in our life, at this point, how much self-worth do we have? Not much. No one self-loves themselves. That's why they have to have all these extensions or bodily improvements. We've all got to go out and buy that nice dress to make ourselves feel better. But at the end of the day, the only thing that can make us feel better is by loving ourselves for all our flaws, all our mistakes, and most importantly, what makes us so different to all the other 8 billion people on the planet. We don't have to dress up. We don't have to go and do all this crazy stuff that young people today are. And that's why us elderly, we laugh at this younger generation now. Why are you having to spend 3 hours doing your nail extensions? Because instead of doing that, why don't you spend 3 hours meditating and finding that peace within yourself where you are a more caring, loving, gentle person? Losing our anger is so hard because anger is one of the most easiest emotions to get because it's one of the lowered states. And the more that we start loving ourselves, it does ripple out of us. It comes out of us like a smell, a pheromone, chemical, and other people feel it. And you know how they say, oh, she walked in the room and everyone just looked at her? It's not to do with what dress she had on or how many boob jobs she's had. It was the energy that she was generating when she walked in that room. And the more we pulse that energy out of us, boom, 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 the more we create good things happening in our own life. You know, I talk about synchronicities. Everything happens for a reason. So please, anyone watching this, have a look at your life. How good is it going? Because I'm going to share a story. This time last year, it was September last year, I was 1 week short of getting kicked out of my house because my rent went up significantly. I went to bed and I said, you know what? My ego's out. I give up. I don't care what happens to me and my daughter. I'm happy to live in my car next week because I was down in 1 week and I had nowhere to live. And I said to them, whoever you pray to, whoever you talk to, I just trusted them. And I said, if you want me to continue doing what I do, please put me somewhere where you want me to do your work. So my ego was out of the equation. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about me doing what they wanted me to do. And I said, I've got two stipulations. I want you and I want a view because my old house was falling apart. It had holes in the walls, there mold. It was horrible. New with a view is all I ask for. 3 days later, I get this phone call from some unknown woman. I don't know how they do this. I really don't, but we've got to trust it. I get this unknown phone call and I answered it and she said, Lynda? And I went, yeah. She said, you don't know me, but we have brand new units. Do you want one? I said, what? She said, your rent is only a third of what you're paying now. I said, how do you know my rent situation? Who are you? Have I got cameras that I don't know about in my house? So she said, here's the address, go look. This is a brand new unit. And when I look out my window just here, I can see for about 20 miles. So I got new with a view. How does this work? But I'll tell you how it works. When we trust in them, whoever you want to call them, deity, gods, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Krishna, whoever you believe in, angels, your dead grandmother, I don't know, because I don't see them, but I trust them, and they look after me. And they know when I need their help. So I talk about life paths. I talk about guardian angels and spirit guides because I see spirit guides. I've got so many photos that I could show you of spirit guide drawings. It's pathetic, my pictures. But I draw people spirit guides. So here's some of the pictures that I draw of people's spirit guides. Oh my gosh, hang on, let me just get into it. Oh, Indian, a rat, a lady from Russia, Sweden, Pakistan dancer, a lion came through one day, a monk, Taiwanese monk. So I draw people's spirit guides and then I explain why they've got this person. What's our path? What's our goal? We never know why we're here. Because if we knew the result, if we knew that destination of where we had to be, we wouldn't learn the lessons involved on the journey. So we have to do this journey to get to that end result. And they keep us on our path so we get to that destination. Bad things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. Why? Because there's always that yin and yang of energy. Good and bad always coexists in energetic universal matter. I've studied metaphysics for 2 decades. I've studied psychology, parapsychology. I'm now a parapsychologist because I see ghosts every day. I communicate with spirits. So I hope and pray that my training, my qualifications, and my experiences all add substance to what I talk about.
That's incredible. And you mentioned many times in your story that you mentioned to her guiding you. Did you ever find out who she is? Is there a name? Is there a relationship?
Oh, good question, Dylan. I don't believe she needs a name because let's have a look at some things that we put titles to. This is my computer mouse, okay? My computer mouse lets me click on my computer, it lets me scroll, and it takes batteries. So it is limited. It can only do certain functions. When we look at a pen, and ironically, isn't it good because it's red because that's my favorite color, but it can only do limited things again. It only has a few functions. She does a lot of stuff. So I don't have a name or a title for her because she's unlimited. She's endless. So I just say, hey, are you here? You? And she knows that I respect that because I hear her giggle. And when I hear her talk, it's like she's about 3 feet away because my ears prick to the noise. I can hear her about 3 feet away. So I know it's her, but I have seen her a few times. One of the times was at the pool, just before I started seeing spirit guides. I was at the pool with my daughter, and the water was about this deep, near my neck. And I'm doing my usual little waddle in the water, going down the lanes, and I heard Lynda. I turned around, no one was looking at me, so I sort of just continue wobbling down the lane, doing my walking, and I hear Lynda. So I turn around and there's no water in the pool. The whole pool in my lane was gone. The water was gone. And there she was, standing there with all this energy coming out of her. See, there's no water. I could see down to her knees. And the water was this deep. And she's pointing at me. And she said, are you ready? And I looked at her and I said, ready for what? And she said, we think you're ready. So who is the we think you're ready? Don't know. But then she disappeared and no one even saw her in the pool, only me. And it was about a week later, a gentleman came to my house, and as he walked into my door, he had a big white rat sitting on his shoulder. And I said, wow, I love your rat. And he said, where, what? And I realized he couldn't see it. But then it stood up on its hind legs, it looked at me, opened its mouth, and in English it said, I may be his rat, I may be small, but I am this man's protector. What? What's going on? What? So I
Why?
started seeing spirit guides because they started telling me I'm this guy's protector. I protect him. And then furniture talks to me. Clothing talks to me. Trees talk to me. This man came to my house and he had a leather jacket on. And I said, oh my God, how's your cousin? And he said, how do you know my cousin? And I said, because your jacket's telling me that you got this jacket from your cousin, and inside there's a pocket, but it's got a tear, so money falls out of it. You can't put your money in. And he said, Lynda, there is a tear on the inside pocket. How did you know? I said, because your jacket's telling me.
Is
People
this
come to my house in their
like,
cars.
sorry to
Yeah,
cut you off. Is this like a telepathy, energy feeling kind of
yeah,
communication? It's not like the
yeah.
jacket is like creating a mouth and saying, talking, right?
No, it's not talking. It's like a telepathic understanding, knowing that I know it's from. People turn up in their cars, and I look at their cars, and the car starts telling me what's wrong with the car. So I'll look at the people and I say, oh, your car needs a new muffler. Or, wow, your car really, it's a masculine. So please take those pink cushions off the back seat. And they say, how do you know I've got pink cushions on the back seat? And I say, because your car's telling me it's a male, it doesn't like the color pink. Weird how it works.
That is
So people send me photos of things and they say, hey, what do you pick up on this photo? And it's just as prominent as if I'm looking at their cars. Yeah, I look at jewelry and I know previous owners of jewelry. So it's like psychometry where I don't actually have to touch the item. Psychometry is a gift where we touch someone's item like a ring and we feel an imprint of information. Oh, you got this from your grandmother type stuff. So I do it without actually having to touch the item. So I do a lot of Zoom calls. People want readings from me, so I do readings virtually every day with people. Funny thing, a lady just sent me a photo of a new house that she wants to buy. And she said, what do you feel on this house? And I said, oh my God, there's been two owners. And the first owner just let it go to repair because they had it for like 20 years. Then the second owner, they've just renovated it all and you love it. I said, they've put really good loving energy into this house, so you're going to love it. And she replied and she said, they did own it for 20 years. The second owner did do all this renovation. But how do you know that just from an external photo of a house?
that's magnificent. What so
So that's what I do.
you mentioned you have a daughter. What does she think of all of this? Your near death experience, and are you training her? Does she like this? Is she resistant? Because we always do what the moms tell us not to do, right?
Now, let's just go there. She started walking when she was about a year and a half old. And that's when weird stuff started to happen. She'd be in her room and I'd walk in and I'd say, who are you talking to? And she'd say, Granddad. Her her dad's dad died about 6 months before she was born. And he always told me he wanted a granddaughter. So one day she's sitting there talking. So I went in and I said, who are you talking to? And she said, Granddad. And I said, what's he saying? And she said, he's telling me he had 5 chickens. And I said, oh, did he? What were their names? So she's naming all these chickens. So I rang up her dad and I said, when you were younger, did you have chickens? And he said, yeah, we had 5. And I said, were they named this, and this? And he said, yep. And he said, how do you know that? Because I've never told you. And I said, well, your daughter is talking to your dead father. So
Wow.
she's got it too. Yeah.
So you have a lot of what I love about your story is you have a lot of corroborating details, like what you were talking about earlier with the sheriff in your living room doing all these things when your body
Yeah.
is in a completely different room. Um,
Yeah.
that corroboration story you just gave. What is the reaction? Maybe when you were in the hospital, or did you talk to the sheriff? Are they resistant to this? As more information comes out and as your story is becoming more popular, do they come say, I'm sorry, you were right? What is this reaction from people that are new to this concept?
When the sheriff first came and saw me, it was about 2 days after I got out of ICU. They put me into my own room. And he walked in and he said, you don't know me. And I said, yes, I do, Ben. He said, how do you know my name? And I said, because, well, that's not his real name, by the way. I just made that up to protect his pride. I've got his business card. It's all verified, okay? Um, I said, I can tell you everything about that night. So I told him where he sat, the button on his shirt. I told him how he had a limp. I said, how is your left foot going now, Dal? He said, and his jaw was on the floor, like, what? He couldn't believe it. And he said, we'd like to start charges against your husband because we're looking at attempted murder. And I said, that's not going to happen. I'm going back to Australia. And he said, are you sure? And I said, yes, just because he hurt me doesn't mean I have to hurt him back. I do not do revenge. I do not do retaliation. I do not mirror other people's energy back to them. So we didn't start criminal charges. I don't want to hurt other people just because they've got a lot of pain themselves, right? Because that's usually why we hurt people because we're holding on to a lot of pain. So He left, and a nurse came in, and I was sitting up in bed and I was watching five people and a dog at the end of my bed. And this lady walked in, the nurse, and she said, "How are you going?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm just talking to these five people at the end of the bed." And she looks, there's a chair there. And she said, "Lynda, there's nobody here." I said, "Yes, there is. There's an old woman, there's a man about 50 years old, there's a child, there's a dog, there's this other person." And she's looking in the corner, she's looking at me, she's looking in the corner. She said, "Lynda, there's no one there." And I looked at these people and I said, "Look, if you want her to know you're here, can you please bang on the window?" Instantly, it was like, "Oh, I can't do it." Bang, bang, bang on the glass. The whole glass was shaking. She dropped her clipboard, ran out, and I never saw her again. She never came back. So there's a reaction. But then we've got like what happened. I don't even know her name, but I know everything about her cat. I was still in ICU. It was like the same day I woke up, and she was taking off my um the blood pressure mitt off the thing they wrap around your arm. And I said to her, "How's Motley?" And she looked at me and she said, "What do you know about Motley?" And I said, "Oh my God, you've been here all week telling me about your cat. His name is Motley. He's 14 years old. You took him to the vet. He's got kidney trouble. It's $3,000 for kidney pills. You don't know whether to put him down or get another kitten, or you don't know whether to just get another kitten so he's got another cat." I said, "You're in such a quandary with Motley." And she stood up and she looked at me. She said, "I do have a cat. His name is Motley. It is $3,000 for his pills because he's got kidney disease. He is 14 years old. But how do you know this information? Because this is my first day in this ward. I usually work down on floor 1. How does it work?
Wow. So it sounds like you have what, and many near-death experiencers come back with an extrasensory perception, the sixth sense, these abilities of premonition, telepathy, spirit guides. It sounds like you have a lot of that. So here's a question for you. How would you define, in your terms, God or this other realm? How would you define it? All right, that was awesome. Thanks so much for watching part 2. Now, to watch part 3, click the link in the video so we can learn what Dr. Lynda has to say about God and source energy, why we need to reframe everything in the way that we think about this material world.